13h, temps réel sur Canal 2 International. Bonjour à tous, Enrique Jean, good day.
Yeah, good day, Junior Hussein. Thanks and welcome to join us in a fresh edition of the Bilingual News on Canal 2 International. We begin with our top stories for the day. 58-year-old woman discovered death in Bangante. The history behind the death of this lady remains unknown. We will be bringing you developments in the minutes ahead.
Début des épreuves de BEPC ce matin sur l'ensemble du triangle national. Depuis ce matin justement, de nombreux élèves sont face aux différentes épreuves du brevet d'études primaires du premier cycle. Autant pour moi, dans ce journal, nous irons dans quelques centres d'examen.
And the world is sounding an alarm on environmental depletion. We will be moving to the northwest region of the country where our Northwest Regional Bureau Chief Correspondent Annie Collins will tell us more on how they are fighting the environment. Those were our top stories. The news is just right ahead. You are welcome to join us, Kejang Henry Atembe and Junior Hussein Nulapom. Good day, Nujon.
Good day, Henri Kejang. Et dans l'actualité ce matin, depuis hier, au lieu-dit nouveau péage par EDA 2e, l'on a enregistré 2 accidents impliquant de camions Stern et une voiture transportant de la tomate en route pour Douala, avec des blessés graves qui ont été rapidement conduits à l'hôpital régional d'EDA, mais aucun mort signalé pour l'instant. Une situation qui a dû stopper la circulation sur cet axe pendant des heures, vous le voyez en image depuis ce matin, c'est ainsi. On essaye de dégager la route. Alors plus de peur que de mal sur cet axe-là. Voyons ceci, du moins, c'est ce que nous confirme notre correspondant sur place, Christian Bock. Et dans la suite de l'actualité, l'ambassade du Cameroun en Belgique a siégé. Plusieurs dizaines de membres de la brigade anti-sardinard se sont introduits hier 14 juin 2021 dans les services de l'ambassade du Cameroun en Belgique située à l'avenue Brugman à Bruxelles. Les manifestants ont interrompu le service à l'ambassade. Il faut dire que plusieurs Camerounais s'y trouvaient pour différents services consulaires. Alors, l'équipe de combattants accompagné du général Olivier Nchana n'est pas allé par 4 chemins pour exiger aux Camerounais présents dans l'ambassade d'évacuer les lieux afin qu'ils confrontent les responsables des lieux aux tortures que subissent toute la jeunesse opprimée et séquestrée du Cameroun, qui n'a plus le droit de s'indigner, de crier sa colère face à la misère croissante qu'on constate dans notre pays. Précise bien sûr ces combattants-là au centre de leur revendication, la libération du jeune Tembek Boda Clémence, de la jeune justement Clémence, récemment interpellée et écrouée à la prison de Mbanga après avoir tenu des propos injurieux à l'égard du président Paul Biya et de ses ministres. Il s'agit plutôt d'un homme, le nom de Clément et non de Clémence. Depuis ce matin, justement, se déroulent les épreuves écrites du BEPC dans les centres d'examen du lycée classique et moderne et du lycée bilingue de Bafia. Et nos équipes sont en poste pour suivre de près l'examen. Bonjour François Emossi. Dans quelle ambiance se déroulent les épreuves à Bafia?
Bonjour Junior Hussein, good day Henri Kedian, bienvenue au lycée bilingue de Bafia où se tiennent en ce moment les épreuves écrites du BEPC session 2021. Tout a démarré ce matin à 8h précises par l'épreuve d'études de texte et ce centre d'examen accueille 733 candidats repartis en 2 catégories. Première, 686 candidats pour le BPC ordinaire et 47 candidats pour le BPC bilingue pour le centre d'examen du lycée bilingue de Bafia et 653 candidats pour le centre d'examen du lycée classique et moderne de Bafia. Avec nous, les responsables des centres d'examen pour les dernières précisions. Bonjour monsieur, comment ça se passe ce matin avec les candidats?
Bon, en fait, nous avons pris en main les candidats depuis 7 heures. Et à l'heure où nous vous parlons, sur les 733 candidats inscrits au lycée bilingue de Bafia, 5 sont absents, dont 2 filles et 3 garçons. Bon, on n'a pas enregistré de cas de force majeure, tout se passe normalement. Les épreuves sont transmises dans les salles à l'heure et pour l'instant, il n'y a pas d'annulation.
Les épreuves du BPC 2021 au centre du lycée classique et moderne de Bafia a été lancé effectivement à 8 heures. Tout se passe très bien. À la fin de la deuxième épreuve, nous pouvons dire sans risque de nous tromper que tout est fort bien lancé. Sur les 653 candidats inscrits, 650 ont répondu présent et vaquent raisonnablement à la tâche. Nous espérons que tout se poursuive.
Tout se passe bien au lycée bilingue de Bafia. C'est la même précision qu'on a du lycée classique et moderne de Bafia. Et pour parler de ce centre d'examen du lycée bilingue de Bafia, se déroulent actuellement les épreuves orales du DCE Ordinary Level, dénommé Special Bilingual Education. Et c'est pour la première fois que ça se déroule dans ce lycée. Et le lycée bilingue, justement, est le centre pilote de cette nouvelle matière qui intègre le programme d'examen du DCE Ordinary Level. Du lycée bilingue de Bafia, justement, François Emossi, Espoir Anissé Baïha pour Canal 2 International.
Rendons-nous à présent à Melon où plus de 500 candidats prennent part aux épreuves écrites du BEPC, session de juin 2021 au sous-centre d'écrit du lycée de Melon-Centre, justement. Alors, allons retrouver Devarionda. Bon après-midi à vous, Devario.
Allez, bon après-midi, Junior Aussin, Henri Kedjan, Goudé, bienvenue dans l'arrondissement de Melon. BEPC, session de juin 2021. Ils sont plus d'une centaine qui viennent des zones reculées de l'arrondissement de Melon. Ils frôlent pour la première fois le seuil de la ville à l'idée de prendre part aux épreuves écrites du BEPC de cette session. Au lycée de Melon Centre, c'est un calme plat qui règne à l'instant même où nous arrivons après la première épreuve de la journée. Les candidats ont plutôt abordé avec une sérénité à nul autre pareil. Madame Goloué, proviseure de cette institution scolaire, par ailleurs chef de ce sous-centre, nous fait à ce propos l'économie du lancement de cette journée dans ce sous-centre.
Comment ça va? Je se passe bien. Nous avons accueilli au total 552 candidats. Jusqu'à ce matin, nous avons 4 absents. Donc, 2 filles et 2 garçons. Les élèves réagissent favorablement depuis la première sonnerie. Et nous avons espoir que tout va se terminer dans le calme, comme vous le constatez vous-même.
Concentration, détermination et abnégation à la quête du précieux sésame. Voici les maîtres mots que nous lisons sur les visages de ces candidats à l'entame de cette très belle journée. Depuis le lycée de Melon Centre pour Canal 2 International, Luciano Dudunjaku et Devarionda.
Henri Kedjan, la suite, c'est avec vous.
Yes, Junior Hussein, thanks and welcome to join us back. The General Certificate of Education, the GC Advanced Level, has flagged off across the country. Now, in Bafia, the central region of the country, we are getting beats and updates of how the candidates are faring, as well as the work of the invigilators and the accommodation centers of this examination. Now, let us just move straight to Bafia. Bafia is in the central region of the country, and our correspondent, Bahia Espoir and Emusi are telling us that everything went hitch-free. They caught up with the chief of center for that center. They call him Guang Victor Fai. This is just what he had to say.
The Special Bilingual French program is a program that the government has put in place to train young Cameroonians to be perfectly bilingual. So today, the examination, the oral part of it is taking place here today. We have about 40 students doing that aspect of the exam. And so here in GBHS Bafia, it is going on smoothly. Yes, no problem for now. Earlier on in the week, we had practicals for chemistry and physics. So all of this time up to about the 29th will be practicals, solely practicals. in all subjects of advanced level sciences. Yes. Next week we will have practicals in biology and computer science ordinary level. So that is at the stage that we are here in Government Bilingual High School, Bafia.
That was the Chief of Center, Victor Ngwan, talking there to our correspondent, Musi. Now let's move back to Yaoundé, where those robbers who actually, suspects who actually broke into the Directorate of Taxes have been apprehended by the forces of security. They were presented to the press by the National Gendarmerie on Monday, as to explain what really happened and how they got about to enter into the confines of the Directorate of National Security and, of course, cater away with hundreds of millions and destroying valuable documents. Yaoundé Bureau correspondent Haisincha reports.
Innocent in appearance, but a viper in action. This is the principal actor of the robbery operation at the Directorate General of Taxation on June 8th. He goes by the name Frankie, alias Chinois. In what appears like a real action movie, he broke into 40 offices in a building of 11 floors with his bare hands. The remake of the mouth-watering action this Monday. The operation, which started at 1:30 a.m., had been well planned a day before. Amongst the 4 members apprehended, each had a specific role to play.
The first one was outside on his motorbike, playing the role of lookout. The second one succeeded to get inside the building by climbing and entering into the window at the first floor of the building. While inside, he started to ransack the door and opening the doors in search of money and valuable items.
Chinois, the gang leader, explained his Vandam actions that night, which, though to an extent, yielded very little fruits compared to the risks taken.
Je cherchais de l'argent quand j'ai cassé le bureau. Et après, je n'ai rien vu. Je n'ai que vu des disques durs. Dans l'un des bureaux que j'ai cassé, j'ai aussi trouvé 300 000 francs.
And unfortunately for the gang, the 4-hour operation was recorded by hidden video cameras and Chinois' phone forgotten in one of the offices, elements used by the National Gendarmerie to easily track the culprits. This is said to just be one of their numerous operations in recent months.
We are in front of criminals. They are not scout boys. Among the action, you can emphasize on some of them. Is a case, for example, of the burglary that happened recently in Douala, in the microfinance named ASEP. They take with them the amount of 50 million CFA fund. On the here in Yaoundé, you have Camp Intelligence here in Boulevard du Verme, where they succeeded to take away 30 million. All of them as ex-convicts.
The presumed bandits remain in custody at the Secretariat of Defense, in charge of the National Gendarmerie, for justice to take its course.
Thanks very much, Haisincha. We move over to Banganti in the west region of the country, where the family of a 58-year-old woman and the population of Banganti is still to come to terms with the gruesome murder of a 58-year-old woman who was discovered, whose corpse or dead body was discovered in the ceremonial ground in Banganti. She is reported having been raped, according to medical reports, as Ambo Gladys Dibang tells us.
This is the lifeless body of the 58-year-old woman that was discovered at the Banganti grandstand in the west region of Cameroon. Reports say the woman, who was suffering from a mental disorder, was last seen in the evening of Saturday, June 12, 2021 at the grandstand. It is feared she might have suffered from the wrath of some evildoers, following reports from medics that indicate she was sodomized. The inhabitants of Banganti are perplexed, and the family of the deceased inconsolable. Her ties have been chopped off. Some people believe she must have been knocked down by a vehicle that disappeared thereafter, while others believe she was raped to death. We cannot determine the exact cause. Yesterday, we found her sitting at this grandstand. When we learned of the news of her demise, we were all touched. The remains of the woman were handed over to her family for burial. This incident comes barely a couple of weeks after a young boy was sodomized to death and hung in a house under construction. Investigations were launched, but the results of the report are still awaited. The Bangante Grandstand is reputed as a place for the consumption of drugs and other unlawful activities.
Well, thanks very much, Amber Gladys Dibang, reporting there from Ndi. Now we move over to you, Junior Hussein.
Yes, à Tembe Chou. On poursuit donc avec l'économie, bien sûr, la vision de l'économie camerounaise selon les chefs d'entreprise du pays partagés au corps enseignant de l'ENAM et ses étudiants. C'était au cours d'un forum mettant en scène le président du JICAM et bien sûr le directeur de l'ENAM dans une opération d'explication du livre blanc du JICAM. Rodrigue Tonguet et Luc Mvondo.
Un amphi plein à craquer, élèves et enseignants de l'ENAM accourent s'abreuver à la source du livre blanc. A priori une affaire du secteur privé et donc qui ne devrait pas faire courir de futurs au cadre de l'administration. Mauvais cliché.
Nous avons une convention et cette convention vise essentiellement les stages de nos élèves dans les entreprises privées. Parce qu'il est important que le futur fonctionnaire, le futur décideur, comprenne les enjeux et les difficultés des entreprises privées et qu'il participe, n'est-ce pas, aux solutions qui sont proposées par le JICAM.
Pendant environ 4 heures, échanges vifs et nourris entre le groupement interpatronal et le parterre des invités, réflexion sur les réformes de l'offre bancaire, l'élargissement de l'infrastructure financière, l'approfondissement de l'intermédiation financière, le développement des marchés de capitaux, l'appurement de la dette intérieure et le développement du marché de l'assurance. Et donc, l'optimisation des recettes fiscales. Le JICAM se sent à l'aise ici.
En partageant notre expérience auprès des élèves, ils pourront dès à présent s'imprégner des contraintes industrielles, des contraintes de son entreprise pour mieux administrer justement soit l'impôt, soit la gouvernance et intégrer les contraintes de son entreprise.
Notons que le livre blanc de l'économie camerounaise est conçu et réalisé par le groupement interpatronal du Cameroun. Il propose des réformes sur le budget, la justice ou encore la diversification qui s'impose pour notre économie.
Tembeachou, suite avec vous.
Yeah, thanks very much, Hussein. Dressed in their blue robes, the 12 great students of the American College or American School in Douala actually bid goodbye to the school after they graduated with flying colors. The ceremony took place at the auditorium of the college, in which parents, the students and well-wishers converged to say goodbye to these students. But then the most important thing is that they still have the pens in hand as they move into the varsity studies. Details in the following report.
The American School in Douala has passed out its 2021 batch of 12 grade students. The 9 graduating students who all began their studies from the lower level bid goodbye to the school on June 11, 2021 as they pursue their academic dreams to different universities across the globe.
It was really great to be a part of this graduation, the celebration of the class of 2021. I think the ceremony really projected what our community is all about. I think it's very clear that our community is a family, and that's something that during this pandemic in particular has really shown. It's been able to bring our community closer together and show the trust and support that we have each other, which allowed our students to continue learning this year.
It was a solemn moment for the students, the administration and the parents who converged at the auditorium of the college to leave this memorable event.
Je suis très émue pour l'occasion parce que ma fille est la leader et elle a prouvé qu'elle mérite la place qu'elle a eue aujourd'hui. Et c'est un bonheur de savoir qu'elle s'est battue pour cela et qu'à la fin, les résultats sont tombés.
Speaking at the graduation ceremony, the students pour encomiums to the school administration and their parents for sacrificing to see them come this far. For 40 years, the American school Douala, Cameroon has always provided a holistic approach to education to help the students adapt to skills and life-solving issues.
A lot of memories I taken from ASG, but many people have impacted my life, but I'll say that my friends impacted my life the most at ASG and made the experience so much better. And I learned how to be a more open person and a more compassionate person.
Working together, working as a group, working as a unit, going through tough times together and just growing as a person and like just becoming better by using others as a pillar and not just sustaining on myself only.
Prior to their graduation, the school has worked with the alumni and the parents to make informed choices for their varsity education.
Well, congratulations to the graduates. A symposium to restitute the results of a search in environmental degradation has been presented in Bamenda. We are in the northwest region of the country. And so the stakeholders actually met in Bamenda to make sure that they render the city a very sustainable one with all the city councils. Details in the following report, courtesy Ambo Gladys and our Northwest Regional Bureau Chief Correspondent, Annie Collins.
Rampant waste disposal, landslides and floods have been identified as some of the environmental risk factors in Bamenda City. Those are results of a survey carried out by some civil society organizations presented in a symposium in Bamenda on Wednesday. Much of the blame have been placed at the doorsteps of municipal councils who do very little to protect the environment but seem to concentrate on potential vote-grabbing activities, probably reason why they were hesitant to fill the survey questionnaires.
We went for these true questionnaires, and believe me, it took time. You can imagine that we sent in the questionnaires, and in some cases it took like 3 weeks to get them out. But we are happy that they were out, and we could make out from them what was being done on the ground. So we also looked at the laws.
Later separated into 3 groups, the over 25 community representatives brainstormed on ways of arresting the situation, which is fast taking a toll on human and economic activities.
So this symposium is going to go a long way to help with the other CSOs who can act as advocates in their communities, because as one of the significant activities to be able to combat these risks, we have to create awareness.
If our fondom works in close collaboration with the council, works with the community, we are now back to the integrated management approach. So the people are a part of the planning. Those who are part of the planning. The other agencies are part of the planning. I think we should not blame council. We should not blame the population. All blames comes to us.
The 2 municipal council representatives in the hall, who were in constant touch with the city mayor, announced that he has promised to abide by the resolutions of this one-day restitution workshop on disaster risk reduction, environmental management, and the implementation of the Basel Convention.
Ambo Gladys Dibang reporting there on environmental sustainability in the Northwest Region, Chiefs Town, Bamenda. Junior Hussein, there is the CAF delegation that is visiting Cameroon, and she knew that Cameroon will be hosting the African Cup of Nations, AFCON.
Et justement, le secrétaire général de la CAF est en visite au Cameroun. Il s'est d'ailleurs exprimé au micro de Canal 2 International. Je vous propose d'écouter à l'instant. Donc Toujours en sport cette fois-ci pour s'intéresser à l'Euro 2020 et bien sûr Canal 2 International vous montrera le match de tout à l'heure quand il sera 20h. France-Allemagne, c'est la première journée du groupe F et bien sûr Didier Deschamps s'est également exprimé sur cette rencontre très attendue par les nombreux téléspectateurs de Canal 2 International. Vous le voyez en image, c'est ce 15 juin à partir de 20h sur Canal 2 International. Je vous propose d'écouter la réaction de Didier Deschamps. Il est l'entraîneur sélectionneur des Bleus.
Le haut niveau, c'est un combat athlétique aussi, donc après il y aura de l'engagement, des duels, donc les Allemands sont préparés à ça et nous aussi. Hein. Dans les matchs de très haut niveau, évidemment, c'est la technique qui fait la différence, mais il y a toujours un engagement total de la part des deux équipes, donc il y sera demain aussi. Le premier match, il est important, il n'est pas décisif puisqu'on aura les deux équipes, que ce soit l'Allemagne et nous, on aura deux matchs derrière. Mais la qualité de l'adversaire fait que c'est un choc d'entrée. Donc c'est évidemment un choc pour nous, mais c'est un choc aussi pour les Allemands parce qu'on fait partie des meilleures nations européennes. Donc voilà, l'objectif c'est rechercher l'efficacité dans les deux zones. Et c'est là où ça va se jouer.
Henri Kédian, pronostic?
Well, I think Germany will win. I'm a strong, fervent supporter of the Germans. Well, anyway, that was just an aside. Sustainable development. We're talking about sustainable shrimp production in the country. Cameroon's shrimp export has suffered a great deal. Setback at the European market for some time now, with another export of about 365 tons from industrial catch and 60 tons from artisanal harvest. The shrimp and aquaculture sector is on a dire stretch. The structure has, or rather, this situation has actually jettisoned the Food and Agricultural Organization to step in and rescue the sector with its new initiative dubbed Fish for the ACP countries. Details in the following report.
The sustainability of the fish sector is threatened by variable factors, amongst which climate change. Based on this, the Food and Agricultural Organization is working with partners through the initiative Fish for ACP countries.
I think the shrimp production is a good value chain choice for Cameroon for economical reason, for biodiversity purpose, but also because the shrimp is at origin even for the name of Cameroon.
This is to guarantee the fish and aquaculture value chain in Africa, as they met in Douala on June 9. Cameroon exports approximately 365 tons of shrimps from industrial output and about 60 tons from artisanal fishing. Despite the lucrative nature of the shrimp market, Cameroon's shrimp export to the European Union was suspended in 2004 as a result of non-compliance, with repercussions for all concerned parties.
To begin with, and in this type of business we need shipping vessels.
The shrimp value chain employs some 1,500 people in Cameroon, mostly youths. While almost all the fishermen are men, the women mostly are of the processing and retail workforce. To guarantee value chain and sustainability, Cameroon has to maximize its production despite eco-marine threats, as quality food is amongst the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. Fish for ACP is funded by the German Technical Cooperation and the European Union.
France will take on Germany tonight for their first match for the Europe 2020. But then the Portuguese analyst and technician Jose Mourinho now gives his own analysis on who is going to be the winner and of course the stakes ahead of tonight's match. Let's just follow on.
I rate Germany always as a team. I don't like to look to Germany as the players individually, because what they normally are is a team. And even this time where they were awful in the qualification, they were awful in the Cup Nations, they had incredible, even historical results of losing at home against North Macedonia, if I'm not wrong. I believe Joaquin, after such a fantastic work, leaving now, he will want to leave on a high. Some of the players for them will be the last Euros. The Müllers, the Hummels, Neuers, these guys, for them, I believe, is the last one. And even being the majority of them world champions already, I think they are always a team to fear.
Well, that's Portuguese technician Jose Mourinho there talking to pressmen on the tonight's match, France versus Germany. Now, Junior, saying very quickly, what are their stakes?
Alors moi, je supporte N'Golo Kanté, Kylian Mbappé, et donc je supporte la France.
You support France. Yes. I'm for Germany. Well, that element brings us to the end of this newscast. We thank you for having been watched. Keja Henry Atembe and Junior Hussein Lulupom for the